In the depths of the universe, humanity was silently growing. Most galactic civilizations had their eyes set on the warring empires that had clashed for thousands of years. No one had noticed that humanity, once confined to a single planet, had become a formidable force. But humans had turned this lack of attention into an advantage. Governments and corporations infiltrated deep space, establishing new colonies. Nomadic fleets built agricultural and industrial hubs on planets unmarked by any map. Despite being a warrior species, humanity had avoided war. Peace was the mask that allowed them to grow unnoticed by the great powers. But this peace would not last. The Red Sun Alliance was one of the oldest and most powerful factions in the galaxy. With hundreds of thousands of planets, billions of soldiers, and weapons beyond comprehension, no one dared to challenge them. But they had noticed something. Humanity was growing. Beyond their borders, this new species was establishing colonies without any empire's permission, creating trade routes, and even expanding its military presence in uncharted territories. Eventually, they would become a threat. The Alliance did not leave things to chance. A fleet of tens of thousands of ships descended upon human colonies. Hundreds of millions of people were wiped out in mere weeks. Most colonies surrendered, but the response was always the same. Complete annihilation. Distress calls from the worlds under attack vanished into the void, with no answer in return. The survivors awaited the response of humanity's great power, the Central Council. But this time, humanity would not kneel. A call was made in Earth's orbit. The Grand Assembly was convened. Every nation's leader, every supreme military commander, and every top scientist gathered to make a single decision. Silence engulfed the chamber like a massive coffin. Everyone felt the weight of the impending command. Finally, the president of the Earth Council stood up and spoke. "We will give them one warning." A message was sent to the Red Sun Alliance. Surrender, or not even the suns in your skies will save you. Their response? Laughter. They thought humanity was bluffing. That night, all hyperlane blockades were lifted. Humanity's war machines were unleashed. 4,500 human warships descended upon the Alliance's planets like a raging storm. The sky filled with human missiles. Alliance shipyards in orbit erupted in explosions. The core cities burned. Atmospheres ignited. Oceans boiled into steam. The sky turned crimson. Those who once looked down upon humanity now begged for mercy. But humanity does not forget. And humanity does not forgive. The last surviving Alliance leaders fell to their knees on the scorched plains. But those hoping for compassion were mistaken. They had been given one warning, and they did not listen. That day was etched into history books. Humanity's vengeance painted the sky with fire. The storm unleashed by their fleets had passed, but only ashes and silence remained. The Alliance's grand cities, once symbols of arrogance with their towering spires, now lay in ruin, choked by smoke. The few who escaped had fled, while those who hid were executed where they were found. This was not just a victory. It was a message. Among the ashes, the Alliance's highest-ranking officials knelt before the supreme commander of humanity's forces. His battle armor was scorched and scarred, but his posture was unwavering. In his eyes, there was no trace of mercy. "Please," one of the Alliance diplomats whispered. "Humans can be compassionate. Show us mercy." The commander took a step forward. His face was shadowed, his voice colder than death itself. "Did you think of mercy when you slaughtered our children?" The Alliance leaders remained silent. "Did you think of compassion when you sold us into slavery?" The commander continued. Still, no response. "We gave you one warning, only one." His voice was a blade cutting through the still air. "We told you, if you break the peace, your worlds will burn." Some Alliance leaders began to tremble. Others simply accepted their fate. The commander raised his hand. Behind him, the weapons of human warships charged with a hum that echoed across the battlefield. This is your end. We do not forget, and we never forgive. Then came the light. Then came the fire. That day, one of the greatest empires in history was erased. That day, the galaxy met its new rulers. Among the ashes of the Alliance, humanity ushered in a new era. The war was over, but the conquest had just begun. Across the devastated planets, survivors still remained. The former citizens of the Alliance now knelt under humanity's shadow. The First Order was simple. Any who resisted would be exterminated. Human warships spread across the galaxy. Abandoned stations, shattered cities, scorched atmospheres. These were the silent echoes of humanity's wrath. But this was not just an end. It was also a beginning. The human empire was officially declared. A new superpower now reigned over the galaxy, and no one dared to question its justice. The first rule: humans were untouchable. The second rule: those who refused to accept the new order would be eradicated. The third rule: anyone who dared to provoke humanity's wrath again would be wiped out to the last trace. The first rebellion erupted only a few months after the war ended, on Vexlar Prime, a former colony of the Alliance. The remnants of the old order thought they could divert humanity's attention. They were mistaken. By the time the human war fleet arrived in Vexlar Prime's orbit, the rebels' hopes had already faded. The planet's entire defense system was neutralized within hours. The human army descended to the surface like towering steel giants. The battle did not last long. The leaders of the rebellion were broadcasted live for all to see. Their inevitable fate was a clear message to every world. Those who defy the Empire shall be destroyed by the Empire. Vexlar Prime was forever engraved in human history as a lesson. On that day, across the galaxy, no one outside of humanity ever dared to rebel again. For years to come, the massive human warships drifting through the skies would remain a warning. New generations would grow up remembering the terrible mistakes of the old Alliance, and the legends would continue to be told. Once, there were those who challenged humanity, and now they are no more. This was not just a story. It was the truth. Humanity does not forget, and humanity never forgives.